What exactly are locusts? The desert locust, Schistocerca gregaria, is a short-horned grasshopper that is innocuous while it is in a solitary phase and moving about independently. These winged insects differ from normal hoppers and become dangerous only when their populations build up rapidly and the close physical contact in crowded conditions triggers behavioral changes. They, then, enter the gregarious phase by grouping into bands and forming swarms that can travel great distances, up to 150 kilometers daily, while eating up every bit of vegetation on the way. If not controlled at the right time, these insect swarms can threaten the food security of countries. Kenya is already reporting its worst locust outbreak in 70 years, while Ethiopia and Somalia haven't seen one this bad in quarter of a century. What kind of damage can they cause? Locusts are polyphagous, i.e. they can feed on a wide variety of crops. Secondly, they have an ability to multiply rapidly. A single female desert locust lays 60 to 80 eggs thrice during its roughly 90-day life cycle. K.L. Gurjar, deputy director of LWO, estimates that a 1 square kilometer area can accommodate 40 to 80 million of these insects, making the growth of their swarms exponential quite like the COVID-19 virus. The damage potential of locusts has been limited in India only because of the country hosting a single breeding season, unlike Pakistan, Iran and East Africa, where they also multiply during January-June. What can and should be done? If the monsoon is good, and in the absence of control operations, the magnitude of attack could be worse than in the 2019-20 Rabi season. Gurjar points out that last year's locust incursions were the first and most significant since 1993. Local authorities in Rajasthan and Gujarat had to treat over 4.30 lakh hectares of infested areas with sprayers mounted on tractors and other vehicles. Thankfully, even old-generation organophosphate insecticides such as malathion, 96% ultra-low-volume aerial application, are effective against locusts. About 1 liter of the chemical is necessary to treat a hectare of their breeding areas, including trees where they halt for the night. Gurjar says that there is ample stock of pesticides to control any swarms. Control operations also require procurement of equipment, training of field teams, prepositioning of supplies in key breeding areas, and updating contingency plans. These operations are technically not restricted under the current lockdown regime. But there is not much time to waste either. What is the difference between locusts and grasshoppers? Locusts are part of a large group of insects commonly called grasshoppers, which have big hind legs for jumping. Locusts belong to the family called Acrididae. Locusts differ from grasshoppers in that they have the ability to change their behavior and habits and can migrate over large distances. How far and how fast can desert locusts migrate? Desert locusts usually fly with the wind at a speed of about 16 to 19 km per hour depending on the wind. Swarms can travel about 5 to 130 km or more in a day. Locusts can stay in the air for long periods of time. For example, locusts regularly cross the Red Sea, a distance of 300 kilometers. In the past there have been some spectacular and very long-distance swarm migrations, for example from Northwest Africa to the British Isles in 1954 and from West Africa to the Caribbean, a distance of 5,000 kilometers in about 10 days in 1988. Solitary desert locust adults usually fly at night, whereas gregarious adults, swarms, fly during the day. Who carries out locust control operations? Locust survey and control are primarily the responsibility of the Ministry of Agriculture and locust-affected countries and are operations undertaken by national locust units. There are also several regional locust organizations that assist with survey and control operations. During times of outbreaks and plagues, external assistance from the donor community and other international organizations is usually required. Why are desert locusts so difficult to control? There are many reasons as to why it is difficult to successfully combat the desert locust. Some of these are 1. The extremely large area, 16 to 30 million square kilometers, within which locusts can be found. 2. The remoteness and difficult access of such areas. 3. The insecurity or lack of safety, such as landmines, in some areas. 4. The limited resources for locust monitoring and control in some of the affected countries. 5. The undeveloped basic infrastructure, roads, communications, water and food, in many countries. 6. The difficulty in maintaining a sufficient number of trained staff and functioning resources during the long periods of recession, in which there is little or no locust activity. 7. Political relations amongst affected countries. 8. The difficulty in organizing and implementing control operations, in which the pesticide must be applied directly onto the locusts. And 9. The difficulty in predicting outbreaks, given the lack of periodicity of such incidents and the uncertainty of rainfall. What are the government measures to control the plague? The nodal authority for dealing with locusts is the Locust Warning Organization, LWO, under the Agriculture Ministry. The government has placed an order for buying 60 spraying machines from UK-based company Micron, and 2 firms have been finalized for supply of drones for aerial spraying of insecticides for effective control over tall trees and inaccessible areas. At present, 89 fire brigades for pesticide spray, 120 survey vehicles, 47 control vehicles with spray equipment and 810 tractor-mounted sprayers have been deployed for effective locust control, as per requirement on different days. For effective control of locusts beyond scheduled desert areas, temporary control camps have been established in Ajmer, Chittorgarh, Dausa and Rajasthan, Mandsaur, Ujjain, Shivpuri and Madhya Pradesh, and Jhansi and Uttar Pradesh, the ministry added. The ministry said it has received permission from Civil Aviation Ministry for use of drones for locust control. 2 firms have been finalized through tender for use of drones for spray of pesticides for locust control, it added. Currently, the locust control offices have 21 Micronair and 26 Ulvamast spray machines which are being utilized for locust control. Meanwhile, supply order for procurement of additional 55 vehicles has been placed to strengthen the control potential. Adequate stock pesticide malathion has been maintained at locust control organizations. Advisories have been issued to Rajasthan, Gujarat, Haryana and Punjab regarding the locust attack and necessary measures to be taken for effective control and pesticides. Locust attack on India crop. The rabi crop has already been harvested and the kharif is yet to be planted. The horticulture and other vegetation have seen the damage. As per reports, nearly 5,000,000 hectares of crops spread over Rajasthan have been destroyed. 16 out of 52 districts in Gujarat and 17 districts in Uttar Pradesh have reported an impact too. The United Nations has said that there is a severe risk to the Indian agriculture sector this year because of these attacks. Locust attacks this year have come earlier than usual. Generally, these incidents are reported in July to October period, but the low wind pressure creating cyclones and storms has hastened the phenomenon. Agri economist Devender Sharma says that the attack is beyond expectation and there are apprehensions that it may further destroy all shrubs, plants and trees that fall in its path. This is an emergency and the damage can be quite extensive even as the state machinery is spraying pesticides and chemicals to control any swarms. The procuring of equipment, training field teams do take time, Sharma said. What is the current situation? Maharashtra. A swarm of desert locusts has entered the eastern part of the state. Primary reports indicated that in the last couple of days, 4 to 5 villages in the Vidarbha region have come under attack from the locusts. Joint Director of Agriculture Ravindra Basail told PTI, the swarm of desert locusts entered the state from Amravati district. It then went to Wardha and now it is in Nagpur's cattle tehsil. The Mathura administration in Uttar Pradesh has formed a task force to deal with any potential locust attack in the district, an official said on Monday. The district magistrate said 200-liter chlorpyrifos has been kept as a reserve and its sellers in the area were advised not to supply the chemical outside the district. Locusts normally affect districts in western Rajasthan, but this time the swarms have traveled as far as Jaipur city. The swarms later headed towards Dausa district. The swarms are traveling farther and damaging trees as there are no standing crops for them to feed on, an official said. India faces worst locust swarm attack in decades. What does it mean for agri economy? So far, locusts have been controlled in more than 14,000 hectares of land in Rajasthan and Punjab, says Narendra Singh Tomar, Union Minister of Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare. At a time when the COVID-19 pandemic has already disrupted farming, India is facing one of the worst locust attacks in decades, which are destroying crops on a large scale and undermining food security of the country. The desert locusts have damaged crops in various parts of the country, including the heartland states of Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh. Soon after invading districts of the heartland states, locusts have now reached Gujarat, Punjab and other parts of the country, forcing the government to declare a statewide alert. The locusts, which bred and matured in Iran and Pakistan's Balochistan, reached India last year. The farmers were taken unaware as it took place after decades. The central and state governments are working together on the desert locust control measures to check its spread. Normally, with the arrival of the monsoon, locust swarms enter the scheduled desert areas of India via Pakistan for breeding in the summer of June-July, but this year, presence of locust hoppers was reported from April 11, 2020, and pink adult swarms were reported since April 30 in border districts of Rajasthan and Punjab, which have been controlled, while control operations against new swarms is going on. One reason for this was the uncontrolled swarms of the previous season in Pakistan that breed continuously. Swarms of pink immature adults fly high and travel long distances with strong winds coming from Pakistan. Most of these pink immature adults settle on trees during the night and mostly fly during the day. Earlier this month, the Union Minister of Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare, Narendra Singh Tomar, held a meeting with representatives of pesticide manufacturing industry and asked them to fine-tune a strategy to prevent locust attacks on agricultural fields. He said agriculture is a priority sector and the government will leave no stone unturned to ensure uninterrupted sowing and harvesting operations. New machines have been ordered from the United Kingdom and will arrive soon, he said. So far, locusts have been controlled in more than 14,000 hectares of land in Rajasthan and Punjab, the minister said.